The big guys are dumping out. Baker Hughes, Weatherford, Schlumberger, they don't want to be in North America frac business because of the growth potential. What do you see that no one else did?
Well, it's a tough business. And I think people that are in lots of business lines, it requires focus to really be good at frac. And that's why when we launched Liberty, it's like we're going to do one thing. Our goal is to be the best frac company there is. So I think consolidation and shrinking players in the market, that's fine. That's actually structurally improving the business.
Chris, is this also an admission that the shale patch never goes back and never revisits its previous highs?
Well, I agree that the frac count, the number of frac spreads running, that probably never gets to its previous high. I think U.S. oil production will. It's really an efficiency story. What used to take 400 frac fleets, we can probably do today with 250.
So how are you going to take Schlumberger's one-stem business and make it yours? Like, what are you going to retire? What are you going to fix? How are you going to make it a better technology? So as you said, you basically are going to get more out of each rig that you have, for example.
Yeah, and it's Alex, that's dominantly a culture thing. What's made Liberty thrive is just passionate, committed individuals that know Liberty's never going to change our strategy. We do one thing and we strive to be the best at it. We're going to welcome a bunch of team members from Schlumberger over into Liberty. And the other real reason is the platform. The two, I would say, leaders in frac technology have been Liberty and Schlumberger. So combining their technology with our technology, I think makes us that much stronger.
So if we have a new normal environment here, Chris, where you're running oil between, say, 40 and 50, right? That's the new normal. How many fleets can you run, and then how much can you add from Schlumberger's business?
Well, that $40, $50 oil next year, what most producers plan is to keep production flat. So right now, there's only about 100 frac fleets running in the U.S. To keep U.S. oil and gas production flat at the year-end level takes about 200 fleets. So I think we'll see an increase in activity level from where we are today to maybe 200 fleets next year, probably gets to 200 fleets. Our market share is probably going to be something around 20%.
What does this mean in terms of the way that U.S. shale can operate in terms of the price levels that are required? Clearly, the price level that is required has been coming down. How much further down can it go? The technology's getting better. You guys are consolidating. What does that mean in terms of the kind of operating level that's required at a given oil price?
Yeah, so Guy, absolutely. One of the great stories of the shale revolution is bringing down that break-even cost, bringing down that cost at which people can get sufficient returns. But there is a limit. $40 is still too low of an oil price. I think at $50, you see a pretty healthy shale patch. At $40, things are tough. But I think with discipline in the U.S. and slower production or no production growth here, I suspect we see oil prices migrate next year probably closer to 50 than 40. But who knows the future?
Well, dig into that a little bit more, because we have seen a lot of production that was curtailed come back online from, say, Continental, for example. Do you what's your read so far? I mean, are oil guys like, okay, we're going to still throttle the brakes, we're not going to get crazy, we're going to get the lateral decline rates kind of out of the way?
Very much so, Alex. There's huge discipline in our industry now. If oil ended the year at $60, which I think is unlikely, but if it did, I don't think you'd see a change in spending plans for next year. U.S. production, which has grown incredibly fast the last 5, 7, 8 years, I think will be very subdued next year. It will be flat, even in a stronger oil price environment.
And the other sort of headwind that everyone has to contend with, or there's a presidential election, I feel like if there's one sector that's truly binary in terms of energy, it truly is that, whether you have a Biden or a Trump win. What do you do if Joe Biden wins the White House? Like, what's going to happen to your business?
You know, it's actually, I think it'll be very little changed. And that's contrary to what you hear. The words are very different, but the reality is probably going to be very little impact. Very little of U.S. oil and natural gas production onshore is produced on federal lands. It's dominantly private lands and state lands. So I think we would see changes in federal regulations on federal lands, and it would be an impact, but it would actually be quite modest.
Do you think you'd be paying more taxes, Chris?
Yes, I think that's quite likely. If the Democrats take the Senate as well, that's quite likely the taxes will change.